Hello everyone, hope you're doing well and welcome to another practicing session here at my clavichord as we do every Thursday 7:30 p.m. here Brussels time, which is a pre-recorded session, and that practicing session goes as a premiere, so to say, on YouTube. It's a kind of semi-live where we can hang out actually in the chat. So if you would like to follow one of these practicing sessions, no better way than to join us when these sessions are actually released or during the live streams on Mondays 7:30 p.m. Then I'm sitting behind the Frenzel pianoforte, and in a few weeks or months, whenever it is really ready, at the Fritz, which is over here. So many of these practicing sessions now are in the framework of the Beethoven project. That's a project in which I'm going to record, in fact, all solo works by Beethoven on 22 CDs starting end of this year, which is actually an amazing project and really exciting to prepare myself for that. And that's what we're doing here now in these practicing sessions. You will see me playing through pieces for the first time, as we are doing now, making fingerings, basic stuff, really essential stuff, or practicing pieces technically, or just finding a kind of interpretation or balance in my performance. All, of course, starting from the perspective of the whole beat interpretation, which is the metronome theory, in which you take the period of the pendulum of the metronome or the metronome as a whole. So tick and tack is the up and down of the arm of the conductor. So the note value in the metronome equation, that's being represented by the two parts of the binary unity actually of that note value. It's not going to be too technical. There are some videos recently on the channel that will introduce you in that, in case you are new here. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. Hit also the bell notification on mobile. You can set there your preferences, which is necessary. Otherwise, subscribing to the channel is awesome, but YouTube will not notify you. And if you really want to hang out with us in the live stream here on Monday or during these recorded sessions on Thursday as we have now, that's the best way to do, is to be live there, because on Thursdays whenever I have time, I will be hanging out in the chat myself, so we can have a nice time there. So I was actually planning to make these fingerings for the variations that we were working on last week, so the 24 variations on the Righini theme. I was actually planning to continue that and to, well, finalize that myself here, not bothering you too much with this, but actually you told me that you liked these sessions where I just make fingerings. And as boring as that might sound, it is sometimes very boring and you would like to play the music, but I think it's an essential step in understanding the music that you're playing. Not only that, but you will be technically way ahead of a situation in which you just sight read those pieces and just, kind of improvise throughout your with your fingerings, and then at the end you succeed kind of in playing the piece, but you will never feel really secure in playing that music. So making fingerings is building actually your technical foundation for the rest of your entire life. But because what I do with my scores, I scan them, they're on my computer, they're backup online. Why? Because once the fingering is ready, with your own score, you can play the piece in years from now, in a few hours if you want, because if you study your own fingerings, you're careful with that, what you actually do is giving the right input into your brain. So the brain is receiving but good impulses, and so when you do that, those impulses will stick for the rest of your life. So that's one of the other things. And basically, for the interpretation, when you make fingerings, I compared that last week to taking into parts of a motor engine. Not that I would do that, I don't know anything about that, but if you do that and you put things back together of a car, of a motor, you really know how it works, how it functions. And that's actually also when you make fingering. You dive into the basement of the composition. And well, it's sometimes a step that you want to skip, but I actually never skip that step. certainly when we play Bach pieces, I would say. Sometimes, of course, music is rather easy and then there's no need for making fingerings. But even then, I do that. Certainly, you know, in these variations, you have certain variations that you would actually easily sight read. Certainly in my tempo, which makes, of course, everything so laughably easy. Not just joking here, but you know, you have pieces that you can play à vue. But what happens then when you are in a concert or playing a concert or just for friends or just there is a situation in which you have to perform the piece for other people, suddenly you start to doubt things that seem to be so natural and normal in when you just were at home. So yeah, making fingerings also for the easier parts prevent happening that, and I'm a little bit of a control freak on that, I must admit as well. So pencil is sharpened, Mr. Frenzel, please take care of that. Here is another eraser. I will put it on the Fritz. And let's just continue where we left. I have put a second camera here. I hope it works. Ideally, I would have a camera over here. Not actually straight as I'm filming myself during the recordings, which is great to see the fingers on the keyboard, but a little bit more behind myself so that you can see the score in a kind of way as I'm seeing it. But it's really difficult, so I'm figuring out still the ideal setup. Okay, so the tempo for this piece was given by Czerny. Not that we have to stick to that, but you know my theory now. It's interesting to see what he had in mind. So, and there we have a variation number 7 with very recognizable figures, so quarter note and then just a little bit of a French ouverture. So does it look. I haven't played the clavichord this week, shame on me, but that's of course the luxury of having 3 instruments. Playing the Frenzel and playing the Fritz a lot. Today I was playing Schubert actually on the Fritz for the first time. Can you imagine that? Unbelievably nice. But the damping system needs to be well regulated. It's something that we need to take care of Joris need to take care of. And we're building that process in steps. So not to hurry too much in the decision-making process, because that would be easy to say, well, I need the instrument to be doing this, this, and this, and this. And before you know it, you're building actually a kind of representation of an instrument that actually represents more what you think about the instrument and what you would think about an instrument like that instead of listening to the material and instrument itself. So, and that's what we're doing now. The action of this piano is unbelievably precise. Joris did a hell of a job. You'll have to wait for me to share that piano, but once we'll do that, and I'm sure you will be happy as I am now. But I haven't played the clavichord, and I need to adjust also a little bit to that. Let's start. A little bit of polyphony actually. That is a kind of strange piece. Let's just try it slowly first. Read very carefully. By the way, I need to tune the bass. You see? It's with the change of weather. It's weather is, you know, it's getting warmer, and that's typically the bass will change. The clavichord hasn't been tuned since beginning of October. It's unbelievable. It has been transported, not too much, but 3 times I think. No, 2 times now. Yeah. Sometimes it's just unbelievable how stable it is, but the bass is changing now, so okay, we'll have to listen through that. because here is a bow, to take a 5, not to do this. So I changed my hand position here. And take these with left hand, perhaps. This third finger, and then we land nice on the second finger on the G sharp. So what he does here, the guy of the Wiener Urtext, this is, I don't understand this fingering. I mean, how, so 5, 4, 1, and then you take your hand completely out of balance on the clavichord. It doesn't work, but I wouldn't recommend that on any other instrument. So Beethoven ends his bow here. Of course, what the person wants to do here is to connect that to the A, but there's no need for that. Just make an articulation gap. Let's see if this works. Like that, fine. So how are we going to play that? Yeah. Now, this D is bothering me a little bit because I have to keep it. So there's no way I can take this with my left hand. Okay, I think so. Okay, how are we going to do this? This would be nice. We could... I'm just looking at my phone here. Something happened on the camera there, but I don't see anything. So this is a strange passage. If this would be a quarter note, then everything would be fine, this D, because then, and I can imagine that it needs to be a quarter note actually. Huh. So there's no way that the left hand can help here. We're not going to do this. Well, for now, I don't know, but my guess is that this is just a quarter note. That's, and then you take this as an ornament with the fourth finger. Then it's a little bit more difficult. That's for now my solution. So here definitely 3-5. And just release everything. This is difficult. But possible. Oh my god, that's out of tune. So 3, 1, just 2. Okay. That's okay. Let's check the tempo here. So this is tricky. It's possible though. Two, 1. You know I don't like that, but there is no other solution. I think that's normally I would take this with 5-2. But then again, I need to make the C sharps shorter And here he puts the bow over the whole. Yeah, I think this is definitely a solution here. So a little bit 3/5, yeah. Okay, and then ah. So let me do myself a favor and tune that. Oh my god. So, shall we tune that very quickly? So, practicing session tuning. This is an emergency situation because it's too much. I need to tune it from the beginning. And actually, I haven't been tuning the clavichord for a while, and it's so different from the piano. I need to learn to listen then again, so my ear needs. That's really a lot. So the D was also not very fine, but okay. Okay. Tuning the clavichord is actually, in a way, easier on the piano. You can depress the note a little bit, and then you can check if it's too low or too high. And funny enough, when I tuned the piano and Joris was doing the same thing, he said to me, "Do you also depress a little bit harder than to check?" And that's actually what we do. Yeah. So used to that. It makes a lot of difference. Okay, just going through that. Real quick here. Okay, that's not okay. Oh no, I was thinking I have the wrong note here. That's better. Where is the G? A, G, here it is. Then this will be completely out of tune because I missed that note. Jesus. That's F. E. D sharp. D. We're almost there. Jeez, that's really terrible. So G sharp. I think the general pitch of the instrument might have been also affected a little bit, so I'll need to retune the complete instrument. So let's try this now. It's still terrible. How do you think? That just is the... Actually, I cannot play on an instrument that's out of tune. Even this is a few notes. Okay. Where are we? What's this sound? So there are two options. Either we start from the second finger on the A, or we start from the first. That's actually suggested here. But then we have to do this. I don't like that. Let's start from the second finger. I would take that anyway like that. And then just 1, 2, 1. And what happens then, the C sharp and the bass, we make it a little bit shorter, but not too much. And then I do, 1, 1. Well, you could say, well, there's a bow, you have to play super legato, but it was a common practice to just go 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. It's difficult though. Because, you go up, here you have a big jump back. I could take this on the saxophone clavichord, but it feels very weird. Anyway, you have to release the note here. It's now. And then here 5, 1, 2, 4. I can go like this, so that's fine. It's a weird piece of music here. Also here I would do 5 and then 1, 1. But very gentle release. Yeah. I wouldn't have thought that I would be that long busy with this variation. I'm changing the cameras now, very quick. So there we are again. This is not satisfying for me, the result, so we continue with that variation number 7. But Let's try it very slowly. This is okay. So in terms of keyboard technique, this is quite new, because now there are notes that you can, you know, actually, of which you have to suggest the length, and you know there is no sustaining pedal here, but it's out of question that in 1791 or 1790, when Beethoven composed this, that he wanted to have this sustaining pedal structurally used. So you have to make legato of whatever with your fingers. It shouldn't be, I think, by definition, super legato like you would have in a Chopin melody. It's 1790, so still there was this yeah. It's hard to say because things are changing, but the articulated way of playing was still the basic articulation, I think. So even if they played legato, there was kind of distinction in notes. You have it still in Czerny. You wouldn't play it like, but you don't play it. There is still something in between. So the discussion of 50 notes a second, of course, that's in relationship to this clarity also of play. But anyway, that's Czerny. So here. This is quite okay, I think. So C sharp and D 5/5. It's tricky. See, you have to release and then go to the D. So release very soft. It's also, yeah, in my opinion, a tempo indicator, this variation. You need time to make this fingering work on this instrument. So, and also on the piano. If you can play it on this clavichord or any clavichord, you can do that on the piano too. But it's yeah, it's tricky. What tempo did I have now? I like when things are a little bit challenging like that, because you have to really mold or create this this music technically as well. So yeah, it feels essential work actually. I don't know why. Basically, my study tempo was quite okay. Chuck, 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 chuck. Strange. Or not strange. What happens if I make these first notes a little bit, yeah, shorter? I cannot do that. It doesn't want that because the bow prevents me from doing that. So let's. But here there is no bow in the bass, so I can detach the notes a little bit more, and that gives some air. Again. what went wrong here, I was trying to play this note, so after the jump, I was trying to make the jump too quick. That's actually what happened. So if you have a passage like that, well, your whole hand needs to be replaced. Well, you don't have time here, because that's what you have to play, but instead, so try to make it slower. I mean, it's not slower in tempo, but the release is slow and the repositioning of the hand slow, and oftentimes you will see that it just fits. Let's try. Still too quick. Try it again. It's much better now. Again. That's a little bit. Okay, that's okay for now. 30 minutes for one variation. Fine. Applause for myself. Well, sometimes you need that. And so also here you can play just over it, but now we have come till the bottom. Okay, then next variation. So that's really completely new music for me. Okay, well we see here in variation 9, all thirds. That's like Clementis gratum ad Parnassum, but actually earlier than that. Great. Yeah. So yeah, as Czerny writes in his pianoforte school, this was for Beethoven, his showpiece in Vienna. Ah. So left hand. I don't like this. This first finger on the C sharp, it's causing problems on the clavichord, and on the piano, of course, that would work. But still, in these pieces from this period, you see that Beethoven is still very much, thinking from the position of on a keyboard like this. So oftentimes, yeah, I don't see much, because he really wants to tie these notes. Let's do that. There's a little bit. I have the D again. I will have the clavichord change for next week. Then left over here. That's okay. So the A is also tied, which I don't like, because if that wasn't the case, I could easily do 5, 4, 1 and then go to. But yeah, nobody would notice, by the way. But he doesn't. Yeah, and if you really want to have the A tight, then starting with 3 is the option. even by itself I'm lifting my second finger here. Also here. Street 2, it's making way for this fingering, so I wonder if this bow is original. Well, maybe in the notes is something written about that. Let's see if I find it. So, what are we here? 24 variations. Variation number 8. I have an issue in bar number 6, 7, 8, 9. There's nothing there. Oh no, 9 here. 8. Bar 1. It's about dynamics. And there is a problem with the tie DD in bar 2. Okay, here. Yeah. Neither in. Okay, now. Yeah, that's variation 10. Yeah, I have to look it up. They will know what they're talking about, but it feels just not right. This because here, what to do? And here we have the A and the bass going to the G. So let's make a melody out of that. Sure, but the A is repeated here, so it's so what to do? Have it legato, so tied to the G, but then I cannot repeat the A. Yeah, that's weird. So also here, like we had in variation 7, actually, well, you can solve this by just taking modern fingering with a lot of substitutions, but I don't like that in this period. It's the only way. So it's second finger and third finger. We repeat that A, so the G will not be tied to the A, which is not a big deal. 1, 3, 4, and then we actually 4. So it's either G with 4 and then F sharp with 4 and D with 5, or going to 5, 4 and then make a substitution over there. Here I can take 1, 2, 3. 1, 2 and then going to 3. Well, it sounds so technical. I can imagine if you're listening, you say, is that so important? But it is, since in this kind of music, oftentimes the left hand is being made completely as supportive for the right hand, which it is oftentimes, but in terms of dynamics and in terms of clarity, it's often the left hand in this style that actually conducts the whole piece. So here the melody or the feeling, so to say, this variation is driven by the left hand, and then it makes a huge difference if you play some notes as a cantabile line or not. So yeah, it's important. So 3 here, starting with 3. Also here you do that by yourself, but still. Tempo. nice melody. Sings nice. And then we can add the variation with all the thirds. So let's see what fingering is suggested here. And you had in the 19th century some standard fingering for thirds, but I would have to look up. Because I'm practicing one piece by Clementi, Grado del Tornasum. It's something like. Has also kind of chromatic runs in the left hand, also in the right hand, with kind of, well, a fingering that certainly suggests a kind of non-legato style, I would say the bravura style, so, which in the early 19th century was the articulate way of playing, actually. It happened more than you might think. So here Beethoven in the previous generation, variation, he gave this long bow, most probably suggesting by playing it legato, but here you see the bows also. So let's see what happens here. So left and right together, yeah, why not? But let's check the fingering first. Fingerings of these thirds must fit left and right together. So you have to. I do that as well. Let me say it like that. I will match the finger of left and right, so that feels right. So let's see. Okay, yeah. These 3-2 is a little bit strange. I would just take 3-1. So moving the thumb along with the right hand is something what was done really often. Also here, 3-1. Don't worry here. Yeah. That's possible. It's okay. And then the left hand. That's the thing, when the fingering is given, yeah, you start playing that and it's interfering with what kind of fingering you would have taken otherwise. So 1-3 I think it's okay. I will take 5-1 here, I think. 2-4, follow the right hand. I'm just trying things out now. 2-4 perhaps? 2-5 I would say. Yeah, I'm messing up things now. 3-2, I'm just thinking on. Now we have symmetry, 5-1, 4-2, 5-1, 4-2. Then, of course, there is something, why not? 2-4, but on 5-1, 4-2 actually, in the left and right hand. So here, the left hand is doing something different. 2-5, I would say, yes. Then 5-1, 4-2, 5-1, why not? And 2-4. Not 2-3, but 2-4. If that's possible, left and right the same, you don't have to practice that much. And you know I don't like practicing. No, just kidding. But I mean, it's obvious that it's easier when you can make some kind of mirrored fingering. So the only note that I missed now is where it's different. 2-5. The 2-5 I don't like. 2-4. Yeah, 2-4 definitely. It was written like that. Left hand or right hand? Yeah, that's interesting. So if I take also 4-2 in the right hand, which will force me to make a little articulation here, that is not only much easier, but it gives a nice accent on that second beat. Now you might say, well, it's legato, it's the bow. Yeah. A long bow, yeah. Short bows, but then even later, this is so early in Beethoven's work. Later, certainly short bows are always articulation bows. Long bows, in later music of Beethoven, I would say from the sonatas 5-6 years later, then it sometimes means that this line is a melody that belongs together. Oftentimes that's legato, but here, no. It's much easier. I don't think it even should not that fast. No, it's okay. Tom, 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 tom. 3, 3, 3. Like this. And then. What's fingering doing now? I would say 2-4 here. 1-4. Let's see. 2-3 like as in the right hand. 4-1. And I don't know, you know, I've played like the fourth ballet of Chopin and the third etudes. Chopin has his own fingering for that. I think I practiced that at the time, so that's one of the things we will be looking back always. So being confronted with these kind of thirds is something for us, we're not freaking out. But in that time, in 1790, I can imagine people say, oh my God, how are you going to play this? Because this was completely new. So, of course, that Chopin music is somewhere still in my fingers. And playing through some Czerny fingerings now, with the Simrock editions that I have from Beethoven's works, it's sometimes strange. I mean, he does things that we don't do anymore today, but they have an effect on the music. I hate parallel thirds. The reason is I want to control everything I play, which is impossible when you play parallel thirds. So the D is tight. And then, okay, let's just use the same fingering there, shall we? Yeah. So let's compare here. G, 4-2, 5-1. That's possible. 4-2. Then I had 4-2 again. Yeah, but that's here. This 4-2 comes on an accentuated place. Here it isn't. So let's be careful here. So 4-2, 5-1, 4-2. Okay, I would say 3-1. 4-1, let's try that. 3-1 and 4-1. So 3-2. If I write 3-2 instead of 4-2, it's just because it feels like that. I have no exact plan right now. Maybe I will change that with the left hand as we did previously. Yeah, it would be kind of swirling fingering. But I don't like this. So 5-1, 4-1, 3-2, 2-1. No, that's this. Certainly here 3-2 at the second finger at a lower note, and then for the next third and at the upper note. That doesn't work. I mean, that just doesn't work. 4-1, 3-2, 5. I think just 4-2, 4-1, 4-2, and then here just 3-1. So not 100% legato. This 5-1 annoys me a little bit still. Oh, I have to take care of the cameras. So that's actually 15 minutes on 3 variations. That's a lot. That's really a lot. Remember these other variations, we actually did the practicing of the complete variation with the fingering in one session. So, you know, when Czerny writes that these variations were something that Beethoven took to Vienna and made him, gave him his place as a virtuoso, that's my point is, well, you will have people who bring this up and say, well, you see, Beethoven must have been an amazing virtuoso player because he must have played this very fast. But that's not always necessarily the case. You see that going through these fingerings now, how much time we have to take on, well, making only fingerings for places that actually are very unusual for that time, and that is something that might have opened the eyes of the Viennese public. I mean, just playing parallel thirds was something, and in chromatic lines was something really new. So it's sometimes really hard to reconstruct that moment in time in history where real people lived that weren't aware of what was coming, and it's extremely hard at the same time to try to forget what was happening after this music was written, because we know if you compare this variation regardless of the tempo you play this in to a Rachmaninoff concerto, this is really ridiculously easy. Well, in super fast tempi, I don't think thirds never are easy, but you know what my point is. So it's hard to forget that Rachmaninoff concerti exists, you know. We know that. And so it's actually a great thing diving into these variations as well and coming through places like this, because that's the complexity of the music. Well, don't know if it makes sense. What are we going to do with this 5-1? It's still annoying me. Let's just do 4-1 and... No. And the thing is, you might say, well, just practice that. That's true. But if I say I don't like practicing, it's of course a little bit of a joke, but it has its roots. Fingerings in that time, once you have made those, it should enable you to play it rather easy. I mean, it has to do with the tempo, obviously. If you play slower than one would do today, that makes the music not more difficult. That's true, I mean, technically. But a fingering that you have to practice really because it doesn't feel right in that style, I think it's not within the style. It should feel right. And it's, in this case always hard to say why this doesn't feel right. Let's stick to that for a moment. Okay. Copy the right hand where we can. So starting at 5-1, yeah, there's no need for that. This doesn't work here. 3-1 left hand. That's a possibility. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, you see that you actually go beyond what is the classical fingering. Of course you do. Yeah, I don't like that. Especially here the 4-1. If you play it like that, it's okay. But with the right. So let's try things in a different way. So try to imitate the left hand and the right hand. Let's see what happens. This through now a little bit more fluently, but you know, maybe you don't notice that, but I'm not sticking to the fingering, and so while playing I try to find out what happened. Yeah, it's better. So this is okay. So now I have now 5-3 to start, 4-2, 5-1 is similar, 4-2 similar, 3-1 and 4-2, 4-2 okay. Here's a little bit different, and then 2-3 both, 4-1, 3-1, 4-2, and then we end. That's okay. And now let's just do the last run, and then it's okay for today, I think. Because I feel now I'm getting tired just making fingerings of 1, 2. That's a third variation. So, Mr. Beethoven, great job. That's okay, I think. So when the right hand just goes up, the thumb follows, it's okay. Like here, 4-1, 3-1. That's good. And with the left hand, 4-2, the same problem here. No, that's, no. Here we go. So I'm not saying this is not possible, but the combination with the right hand, we have again the same situation that I would have to practice that, and I want to create a certain logic here that kind of feels controllable by my brain while I'm playing. I hope that makes sense. So that I'm not depending on my motorical skills by having practiced that. So we try the same thing, 5-1, okay. That's okay. So here it's okay, 5-1. It's a mirror fingering, and then go to 4-2 with 3-2, that's okay, and 1-5, that's still okay. But then is much easier, of course. I would say 2-4 here. 4-1. And then 2-3. 1-4. Not saying this is the only fingering you can take it. I'm not going to do this again because now all these fingerings and thirds needs to settle a little bit. Tomorrow or the next time I practice this, I will play this very slowly and maybe also a little bit with the rhythmical variations. So, for instance, that you have because we live in a time where kind of technical purity is well required. In fact, if you play concerts, and well, maybe rightfully so. But in that time, I'm sure people who play this messed up a lot of notes. That's for sure. A lot of notes. I cannot say from Beethoven. I think when he came to Vienna, he must have had a quite accomplished technique. Don't forget, he had lessons in Bonn from Neve. It's been, well, not described that highly in Schindler's biography, by the way, amongst the people who Beethoven had as a teacher in Bonn. But Neve was a great musician. Yes, actually second generation Bach student, so let's not forget that. And he had access in Bonn to a copy of the Wohltemperiertes Klavier, so he played that, Beethoven. And if you play the Wohltemperiertes Klavier, you have quite an accomplished technique. Certainly Beethoven had that. But what that means compared to what we think an accomplished technique is, that's of course an open question. Anyway, long session now, with a lot of details, technical details, and well, that's what it is. If you go to variation number 10, that seems to be easier. 11, also 12, 13 with octaves, 14 here, and little adagio, elaborated adagio here, kind of etude-like style. Long variation. Here, broken chords. Also here, it's kind of, he is exploring Beethoven. Octaves here in kind of cantabile style, kind of polyphony, and canon. Here, this is for 1790 quite an amazing view here of notation. Starting here with the 16th note on an F sharp. This is actually strange. Great. Here also left hand. So yeah, we are not finished with this. Crossing of the hands, I hate that. Mozart was great in that. So yeah, that's a huge variation set. So let me know if you want me to continue with this fingering. I mean, we can do this for some weeks, and I don't mind. I really don't mind sharing that with you. This is the deepest level of sharing things in my kitchen, so to say. I mean, here you can see everything I do basically while practicing, and I don't think that's being shared a lot, which I can understand. Don't ruin my metronome now, because yeah, there is a level of vulnerability in that, but I don't mind. It's by sharing this that we learn, I think, from each other, and I learn definitely a lot by doing this. So let me know in the comment sections or here in the chat what you would like me to do with this video. Well, let's say reaches 50 thumbs up, then I will do another session. Maybe that's an idiot thing to say, but I need to find some parameters for this. Because as I said Monday in the live stream that I announced doing these fingering sessions, but yeah, really some of you reached out to me saying it's so nice, it's exciting, please continue with that. So that's the reason why I'm doing. But in this tempo we'll need, I think, 3 more sessions if I'm not working on these variations in between. So if that's okay with you, just let me know. Okay, anyway, hope you had a great time here in the premiere or later in the replay of this video. And in the chat, as always, I try to be there. So Monday we will be at the Frenzel again. Let's see, Monday, if there's something on my schedule. If there is, I pre-record that session as well, but I don't think so. Then we will dive into the scherzo of the 3rd Vienna Sonata in the C major 1, opus 2, number 3, and see where that leads us with a beautiful trio section in A minor, like this one. And hope to see you then again. Thanks for watching. Thank you also to my patrons. I'm really tired from these 3 variations. Can you imagine that? So my patrons, they make this possible. If you haven't been visiting the Patreon page, I will be updating that a little bit. But I appreciate that a lot. Even throwing $1 a month to that Patreon site will make things possible that otherwise would not be possible. And so thank you also to my patrons. And for now, I think I'm going to have a glass of wine or something, and then it's bedtime. See you next time again. Bye.